Hello, everyone, and welcome to Dr. Emmett Emery Sr. You Better Stand Your Watch podcast. Today, we're going to talk about why you walk away. Why do you walk away? I didn't say when you walk away. I said, why do you walk away? And from a mental health perspective, walking away is called conflict avoidance. Conflict avoidance is a tendency to withdraw from disagreements rather than address them directly. While this response may feel like self-preservation, it often leads to unresolved tension, frustration, and emotional distance in relationship with friends and coworkers. Avoiding conflicts does not make issues disappear in any means. It merely pushes them beneath the surface, where they can grow into deeper resentments over time. Now we'll cover 5 common behaviors in 5 different podcasts. It's going to be a series. It's a little bit more than a mini-series, but it's a series that indicate conflict avoidance. And conflict avoidance, as said, it includes shutting down emotionally during difficult conversations. It means disengaging from the interaction and suppressing feelings as a protective, unconscious coping mechanism to avoid emotional pain, and overwhelmed or further confliction. It is an involuntary nervous system response, often a freeze response to perceived threat, and not usually a conceived conscious choice or a sign of not caring. Why people shut down? Why do people shut down? People shut down for various reasons. Emotional overload. The brain shuts down the rational thinking process when emotions become too intense. A protective measure to prevent more pain. It's when they shut down, this is when an individual might say, you look like you were somewhere else. Or what was you thinking about? Or you was out in space. Well, for some, thank God you was out in space because you might have been in their butt. That comment does not mean I promote violence. It does not mean I promote nonviolence either. It's just I'm an individual that believe in protecting yourself. So if you're in situations where you have to protect yourself, protect yourself. Don't go out and just start things, and don't be hesitant about walking away, because sometimes walking away can be more beneficial to you than actually stand there and deal with the confrontation. Learned behavior. Experiences, especially in childhood, where expressing emotions lead to conflict, criticism, or rejection, and can teach a person to withdraw to feel safe. A lot of people say, no, I didn't go through a lot of confrontation in elementary school, because at that point, depending on what school you're in, if it's a private school or public school you went through it. Private school you probably didn't, but everyone goes through it in high school, whether it's a small version or a large version. It all depends. But you experience it through high school. And sometimes, to the degree that it happens, that has a tendency to stay with you over a period of time. And my understanding of learned behavior is that it's the behavior that you learn to deal with when it happens to you again, repeatedly, or it's a behavior that you overlook because you learned how to adapt to that behavior. And some people said it's called acceptance of behavior, or just going with the flow. So if you learned that a bully is a bad thing and you stay away from bullies, you learned that in elementary school, and then you carry that into high school, well, that's a learned behavior that's going to stay with you throughout adulthood. So your kids, when you raise your kids, that learned behavior from bullies being bad is you're going to bring forward. You're going to express it to them why bullies are bad. Sometimes the biggest bully in your household, if you have more than one kid, is the older kids towards the younger kids. And that's one of the learned behaviors that stay with you, because that older child is probably bigger, stronger, and taller. And they know more because they've been around a little bit longer. So you know how to work mom, how to work dad, and things of that nature. So that stays with you. So if you're the second child, well, guess what's going to happen to that third child? Poor thing. The thing that happened to you from that first child is going to happen to that third child. It's a learned behavior. Fear of making things worse. Individual might believe that any emotional response will escalate the conflict. So they disengage to prevent further damage. You get that feeling that if I say this, it might be a trigger mechanism, and this person might just fly off the hook. Or it might be such a conversation that you're having at that moment. And a person might be upset about something that they don't have any clarity of or understand. And you want to give clarity and understanding. But you're afraid if you get clarity and understanding, that it'll make things worse at that time. So it goes back to what I said on previous podcasts. You have to choose your battle. You choose your battle for that moment. No, you just don't lay it down completely and don't go back to it. That person needs to know that what they're saying is incorrect. Because if they think what they're saying is correct, they're going to go with that. And no matter what happens, they're going to say nothing happened for me to change my mind on the situation. So if you know you're right, be right. Let that person know. But there's a time and place for that. So you choose your battle with that individual. Not everyone's like that. You can be engaged in a conversation with someone and you can just say, no, that's not correct. And then you explain to the individual why it's not correct by giving them multiple examples. Now, you're trying to explain to an individual that something not correct and you had no examples and you're just saying it's not correct. I mean, you're not explaining what's not correct. You just engage in the debate section. Because now you're going to state your claim, you're going to state this claim. You're going to state your claim, you're going to state your claim. You're going to state your claim, you're going to state your claim. No winner and no understanding. So you debate without a winner. So you just balance out. But then you know that the person is wrong. But that person's not going to accept that because you have not given an example to express that person that they are inaccurate. Perceived threat. When a relationship dynamic feels like a threat, such as fear of inaccuracy, rejection, or abandonment, the nervous system can activate a protective mode, including emotional shutdown. I said including emotional shutdown. I mean, you can shut down emotionally and don't want to be involved, and then you just put yourself in isolation, or you just walk away. Go take a ride in the car, go take a walk in the park, walk in the neighborhood, go visit the kids, visit friends. You'll get away from that particular environment because you perceive a threat. Some individuals perceive a threat, they call 911. And then if it's not really a threat, or a person that means for it to be a threat, but that person perceives it as a threat, I say a perceived threat, then that person ends up escalating the situation that probably should not have been escalated. And a lot of time that happens based upon past experience with that individual. So the individual may not be perceiving themselves as a threat at that moment, but the individual remember from the past that what the individual did through certain topics, through certain conversations, through certain interaction. And they perceive that threat to happen again, so they want to stop it before it happens, especially if it's bodily harm to themselves. And the first thing they want to do is not be involved in that situation again. And the person says, I'm sorry, that's not what I was going to do. That's not what, yeah, but you have a history. So if you have a history and that person perceived threat, well, they're going to have this nervousness about themselves. They're going to get activated. You're going to be nervous to the point that they don't even want to talk to you. They don't want to be around you. They don't want to be engaged with you. Or they're going to be nervous to the point where they're like an animal. When an animal is nervous and feel threatened or trapped, or you got them cornered, things of that nature, they don't attack, but they protect themselves. When they protect themselves, it seems like they're lashing out, they're attacking. No, if they're going to attack you, they'll viciously attack you. But they'll probably bite you or they scratch at you and then go back to where they're standing. So the human nervous system shut down like that too, or reaction to respond like that as well. Some individuals respond with reflexes. Your common reflex depends on who you are. If you're an individual that deals with jiu-jitsu or taekwondo or you're a boxer or you like to just shadow box and things of that nature. So your normal instinct, even if you're a wrestler, your normal instinct is going to be protect. Because when you're involved in those sports, you have to protect yourself. You protect. So if you see something coming, you're going to protect and respond. So it's automatic with those type of individuals. For the nervous system, it shuts down that way. Then you have the ones that don't like confrontation at all. None. Zero. And they regress. They go to isolation mode. They isolate themselves. So if they see that, they'll pull away and try to get to a place where they feel safe and alone. Those are the ones that take so much abuse, a lot of abuse from individuals. They perceive the threat and they don't want confrontation. So they allow the threat to happen to them and just pray that it stop or don't happen again. And that individual who caused the threat get this power over this individual, and they proceed to continue to do that. But individuals that have that protective mode and that nervous system pop in, well, they pop off. So if you're coming at them in that magnitude, they're going to defend themselves, or they're going to defend someone close to them. So sometimes you can't walk away. So when do you walk away? Well, even if you don't walk away, you step back. The last thing you want to do is be in a situation where you know you should not be in. For example, accident happens. You could just, someone hits you, you could hit them back, and then they can fall the wrong way, or you connect the wrong way, and they hit their head or hit a spot on their body that cause them to, you could hit a rib and rupture on the inside. You can hit them in the head, hit the temple and knock them out. And then they hit themselves and they cause more harm to themselves that you wanted to cause. It might even be death. And then you're looking at prison sentence. You're looking at lawyers and everything else, when it might have been a situation that you walk away. I'm not talking about self-defense where you have to react, stand your ground. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about a situation that you can avoid, like an argument confrontation. Why stand up and argue with an individual? If stand up and argue with an individual is really useless, because you're not going to penetrate that person or get through that person. They're not listening to you. They're basically saying what they feel they need to say. And as you continue to talk, it only irritates them. They don't hear what you're saying. It just irritates them that you're standing in front of them still talking. So they feel confrontation. And then they nagged it on. So it has to be at some point you gotta just walk away. Walk away don't mean that you're a wimp. Walking away don't mean that you're weak. Because you walk away, but you're still watching individual. Because you don't be foolish and think that an individual who seems as if they're going to attack you or call confrontation towards you is going to back down right away. Because they might perceive that as a form of weakness. But you know that's not a form of weakness. So you're still protecting yourself. I always tell my friends, I said, I'm not responsible for the first 3 to 6 seconds of any confrontation. They said, why you say that? I said, because that's normal reflex. So what happened after 6 seconds? I said, I try to make sure it don't be after 6 seconds. I said, it's just like you down for the count of 10. I said, I'll make sure they don't stay on their feet for less than the count of 6. Because if it comes to that point, that means I really felt threatened, or I'm protecting myself. That means the person probably swung first, and I just swung after that. But I don't engage anymore after that. I just respond as my nervous system have me respond to, and then I stop. It's the ones that continue to go and go and go and go until they cause serious injury to that individual, when it's not necessary. That first time you hit that person, it probably was a wake-up call from them, and they're not going to come back towards you. If you hit an individual and the individual doesn't come back for more confrontation, they're just sitting in one spot, standing in one spot, and they're walking away, why would you gauge that? Then you reverse it, and you feel empowered, and then you try to make the other person feel weak, and Then you think about all the years that you wanted to just touch hands on that individual, and all that stuff comes back, and then boom, you engage and serious harm happened. And then you wake up and you in a 6-by-8-foot cell telling you got to do 5 to 15 years on a 30 seconds to 2-minute event. Have to know when to walk away. Signs of emotional shutdown. Yes. Shut down for a reason. I shut down. I shut down because I don't want the confrontation. I shut down because I don't want the issues. I shut down because I don't want to continue on. And if I don't want to continue on a conversation or interaction that mean I know is headed in the wrong direction, or I feel that the other person is not receiving what I'm saying. So if they're not receiving what I'm saying and not responding to what I'm saying, then I'm wasting my time. And I don't like wasting my time or waste the other person's time. It makes no sense. So I know when to walk away. But the ones that don't know when to walk away or understand when the other person should walk away, these are signs of emotional shutdown. Everyone shuts down. Some people shut down and black out. Some people shut down and still aware of what's going on. Some people shut down, and this is strange, but it happens. They shut down and go into meditation mode. Whatever calms you down. You have to find a method that calms you down. You have to find a method that keeps you mellow. You have to find a method that causes you not to engage in confrontation. You have to develop a method to tell you, or you know when to walk away. You need to know how far you're going to go with the situation, how much you should engage yourself in the situation before you walk away. And you got a choice when you walk away. You can walk away in silence, or you can walk away, explain to the person why you're walking away. It's totally up to you. Signs of emotional shutdown: disengagement, a general withdrawal from the conversation, and emotional shutdown. No more conversation. We're not talking about this anymore. That caused more conversation, more confrontation. When you tell someone, we're not talking about this anymore. So you basically just tell another person, shut the hell up. You don't have a voice. Not listening to you. I don't want to talk about it anymore. When the conversation was with two people, it wasn't with one. So you're just going to shut that other person down like that. That person got the right to speak just like you do. That person got the right to be engaged just like you do. That person has the right to be heard just like you do. Now, it's respectful, as I call it. Is it actually research been done on what I'm about to say? Probably not. But I like to express what I'm about to say because it clarifies my hypothesis. A general withdrawal from conversation and emotional connection does not always mean that the person dislikes you, don't love you, don't want to be bothered with you. It's just for that moment. And then you can come back to that later. But don't get upset when that person shuts down or walk away. If a person sat down and don't talk and tell you, let's just talk about this later. Talk about it later. Because you're only going to get yourself all roused up and upset. And then you're going to get that person more into the isolation. And then they're going to rouse up and get escalated again because you're going to say, you're not listening to me? Do you hear me talking to you? How are you going to ignore me like that? That's disrespectful. See, that's you carrying that on. When a person says they shut down, let them shut down. Let's go into silence. How can you tell your child to shut up, sit down, when you don't know when to shut up and sit down? How can you be the role model? How can you lead by example? Those are learned behaviors as far as I'm concerned, because in my community, I just say the black and brown community, when your mother get upset or your dad get upset, my dad was never around, my mom get upset, she said, shut up and sit your ass down. So that learned behavior I learned a long time ago. So when it's time for me to shut up, I shut up and sit down and won't say a word. You know that irritates some people? Oh, you ain't got nothing to say? Why you so quiet? Why you so disengaged? Why you don't want to be involved? Well, if I'm shut up and I'm sat down, leave me alone. That's my recovery time. That's my 7th inning stretch. Let me be. Let them people be. You got 24 hours in a day. If that person need to be to themselves for 15, 20, 30 minutes, an hour, let them do it. Let him or her do it. Do not pressure them, especially spouses. If that wife need that time away, don't ask her what you going to eat tonight. You either go buy something to eat and surprise her, or you cook something to eat and surprise her. If that male is saying, for example, I had a moment this past weekend, especially yesterday. Actually, it was yesterday, where my team had 52 points scored on them. Yeah, Chicago Bears. And I was emotionally upset. I didn't want to be bothered. Didn't want to be talked to. Didn't want to communicate with him at all. My wife asked me, what's the score? We was out and about, and I looked at the score, and she didn't ask me again. She looked at my face, and she changed the topic. See, because she knew that engaging in that conversation was only going to irritate me and make me more upset. And me getting upset, sometimes I have a tendency, my voice rise. And if my voice rise and we're communicating, then a rise voice sounds like you're targeting the individual. So that individual responds back. Why are you yelling at me? Why you talk to me like, you don't think you are, you don't have any intention to. Then you're like, I'm not. Then the conversation goes back and forth. So when that person disengage, let them disengage. Silence or empathy. Becoming quiet, unable to respond, or showing a lack of emotional expression. Just a blank space, just sitting there. Looking off. Ladies, if that person's sitting there looking off, leave them alone. Let them think. Because when a man think, he's just not thinking about the moment. He's thinking about a lot of other things that he had not addressed that comes to surface at that moment. It could have been something that happened at work. But now he's in a mode where he's thinking. So now he's thinking about everything. It might not even be about the situation anymore. You guys probably was talking, and then he was angry, you was angry, and all of a sudden the person sat down and started thinking out. Guys, do that. Other things pop in. Females remember a lot of things on a moment at that time. Guys remember a lot of things when they're angry and coming down. When they're coming down, they start thinking. Then they're out there just thinking about a lot of stuff. A lot of stuff. One time I was coming down and I was thinking. And I said, and I was thinking, it's crazy thoughts too, by the way. But it's not really crazy, but it's crazy that there's some things you think about. I got to thinking way back in my childhood. I said, I never had a fight where I lost. I said, wait a minute. Only one fight I lost when I was age 11. That was my childhood friend, Alfred, beat the shit out of me. I said, wait a minute. Why am I thinking about that? And then the thought came up, said, yeah, I think I'd take his now. But those are thoughts. They're not angry thoughts towards you. And you probably say, not paying me any attention, not paying me any mind. No, because we get deep in thoughts with those things. We don't talk about it or bring it up to surface, but we're mad or upset about something, we calming down. And that's our way mentally of walking away from things. Because you're not even thinking about the situation that happened. That comes up again later. But at that moment, no. But if the other person continue to talk about it, yeah, it's there on the surface. And then that person at some point is going to get up and walk away. And what irritates me more, and it probably irritates a lot of other men, even women, people in general, is when you walk away to avoid confrontation and stop the argument and a person follow you and keep it going. That irritates individual. I don't care if it's a female walking away, say to themselves, I'm just done with this. I'm just going to getting out of hand, it's escalating. And the man still walking behind them talking about it. Or the guy walks away and says, no, I'm done with this. And the female walking behind them still talking. Or it irritates a female if a guy sits down, put the headphones on, start playing video games. That there is disrespectful. Very disrespectful. You do better not even engage into that, into after the conversation settles down. Don't even engage in that. Don't even go to the video games. That'll cause another issue. Let that sit there. You can look at it and think about it, but don't engage in that game. Don't do it. Another thing is when you stop talking, don't engage in anything whatsoever. And that other person stop talking to you at that moment, later on that day, the next day, and the next day. You're like, wait a minute. I didn't want to call confrontation. I didn't want to go further with this argument. And that person, female does it more than males, but male does it too. Male probably go 1 or 2 days trying not to talk to you. Those, to me, and it's just me. If a male don't be a man and stand up and communicate with that woman, especially if there's that woman, their spouse, and you just let it go, let it go, let it go. The Bible said, don't let the sun go down on anger when you're angry. You just let it go, let it go. How are you the head of that household? How are you displaying that you're head of that household? How are you keeping the household on a good, normal path? You're not. You're not. So if that female is upset, you know she's upset. You know what to do to get that female from being upset. Everyone knows what to do to get their spouse from being upset. And with the female, it works. With the guys, no, you won't be stubborn. Blah, 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 blah. No, let it go. Let it go. The time you lose on being angry with each other and being separated mentally, physically, and spiritually from each other from that moment that you was angry is like an eternity. They say you learn from the past. You learn from your past. Or in my case, I use my past as a motivation to succeed in the present and the future. Well, that's a moment too of learning. You learn from your past. That means if it's, you learning from an hour, you learn from an hour. Know your mate, and especially your kids. How can you be mad at your kids? They still learning modes. Yeah, they do foolish stuff. Yeah, they do silly stuff. Yeah, they get to a moment, them phases they don't want to listen. Them phases they tell you physically or mentally to shut up. They don't want to hear it. We went through that when we was younger. Kids are going to be kids. But you don't abandon them because that's the thought process. You let them be themselves. If you have to step away from that child 1 week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks, 5 weeks from what they're doing, don't step away from the child, but step away from that particular character that they're displaying. But still love your baby. That's your baby. Your baby now has to come here. It's here now. And you take care of the baby to the day you die. You show the love for that baby to the day you die. You got to be your baby to the day you die. I went through verbal contacts, mental put downs from the kids. But I know my kids love me. And they show their love. Yeah, they get angry. They get upset. They don't want to be bothered. They say things on their breath. They walk away. You talking to them. They act like they don't hear you. But that's your babies. Now, how is that different than what you're doing to your spouse? Learn behavior. You got to learn it from there. I tell you right now, man, your son's looking at you. Your son's looking at you and they're displaying some of the same characters. If you doing good characters, they displaying it. You're doing bad characters, they displaying it. So you are that role model for your child. Your child don't say anything. Even your child say, I love Michael Jackson. I love Michael Jordan. I love Kobe Bryant. Well, that's just the character they love in the world because other people like characters too. But no matter what, you that child hero. Your son looking at you being your hero. And if your daughter close to you, she looking at you being your hero. But your daughter not looking at you the same way your son's looking at you. Because remember, you raising a man. And the biggest thing gets me about the father raising a son is that the father is not explaining to the son the way he needs to protect himself in this world, mentally and physically. Like with me, with the African American and the Hispanic community, more African American than Hispanics, we have to tell our sons on how to respond to the police when they pulled over or when they stopped on the road or things of that nature. How to talk and how not to talk. What tone to use, what tone not to use. What words to use, what words not to use. No eye contact. Look straight ahead or look down. Those are things we have to explain to them. And we don't just explain on one moment. We have to say that to them constantly. Because if we don't, and they get caught up in that situation, one or two things going to happen. Either going to have confrontation with that officer when they should not, and the officer shoot and kill them. Or they're going to end up getting beat by the officer, end up getting lied on, and evidence planted on them, and doing jail time. I'm talking about African American. So that's one thing that my society needs to do, is explain to that child what happens when they have interaction. If they remember, they remember. If they don't, they don't. But you told them. Trust me, they're going to remember. When it happens, after the first time it happens, they're going to remember. Emotional numbing, feeling emotionally numb or disassociating from what is happening. It's there's nervousness, that sweat, and you're so nervous you can't really speak, and nothing comes out when you talk. I mean, it shook you up so much, the argument or the disagreement shook you up so much that you can't say anything. People get like that. You're shaking. And that person's still coming at you, that is not making you calm down. It's making you more nervous. So that person, you see that person had an emotional numbness, step away. Let them calm down. Let them get down with themselves. You can bring them a glass of water. You can bring them a glass of wine. I ain't saying nothing about brandy and cognac. You ain't trying to knock them out. You're just trying to bring them down. Physical clues. Signs like droopy eyelids, a lack of vocal inflection, or other signs of internal shutting down. When you see those, the person shutting down, give them their time. You know the difference between that person getting ready to pass out and that person needing their time. You know, because you know your kids or your spouse and your best friend. You know them. Now, you know how to respond to those individuals. Show empathy. Understand that shutdown is a coping mechanism, not a deliberate attempt to hurt you. It's not even about you. You shouldn't even make it about you. You shouldn't even make it a personal issue. You shouldn't even say that it's disrespectful. That person shut down, let them shut down. It has nothing to do with you all. It's all about that individual. You don't know if their nervous system is affecting them. You don't know if they having this emotional numbing. You don't know that unless that person say something. All you know is that person is deciding not to continue to engage in an argument with you. Let them go. Let that person recover. Give space. If someone says they need a break, respect that, as it allows them to calm their nerve system. It's all about the nerve system. Respect that. I need a break. Now, say the words, I need a break. Don't say, shut the fuck up. Please don't do that. Because you just agitate that person and you're going further with this. And I know you don't hear me curse that much on my podcast, but my producer better not cut that out because I want you to hear that word. Don't say that. Just say, I need a break. Communicate ahead of time. Agree with your partner on a plan for when one of you feels overwhelmed, such as taking a planned break. That does not work. I had to tell you that, because through the mental, emotional state, they're going to tell you, hey, you got to have an outlet. Your outlet is you two agree to disagree, or you agree to have a plan in place. So if that happens, you get into an argument, then you regress that plan. You get an argument, that plan out the window. You can say to your mate, hey, it's a plan. We're not going to argue. And just depending on what you're arguing about, she's going to tell you that plan don't exist. Back to the drawing board. And lastly, seek professional help. For persistent patterns of emotional shutdown, working with a therapist can provide a strategy to manage these stress responses. I said a therapist, but I highly recommend that you work with a behavior therapist first. So, because a lot of the things I just mentioned are behavior issues. So work with a behavior therapist first. If that Behavior therapists think that you to the point or something happened or they can assist you or you need to go see another therapist like a psychologist or a psychiatrist, a sociologist or things of those natures, or then they can direct you to that individual. They can refer you out. But to address your behaviors, I recommend that you seek a behavior therapist. Well, I thank you for tuning in. I know it's been a while. I missed you. I know you missed me too. So until we meet again, subscribe to me. God bless you and goodbye.